Welcome to our Ask the Expert this week. We have the lovely Lee Freer from Enforto Wills, who is going to be talking about our key hot topics of the whys, wheres and whens of when to have a will in place and what the risks are potentially to you. So we all know a family member, a friend, an elderly relative that perhaps should have, is going to, or it's too late to put that will in place. And I think today's chat is all about getting it done. It's the time of year, isn't it? We all leave these things and life admin to another day, another time. I don't quite need it yet. And I think January is the perfect month to do a bit of life admin, sort things out and get things in place. So welcome, Lee.
Thank you very much for having me.
You might not think that by the end of the day. So a small grilling, I guess, today of all these questions that we get sent in from people that watch these and have done them in the past, and a real follow-on from this. So today I'd like to cover some hot topics.
Yep.
First one being, what would be your 3 top reasons to get a will in place?
So I think the main sort of reason we sort of have with sort of clients coming to us with inquiries around sort of getting their wills sort of in place really is A, making sure sort of, I think sort of things are in black and white.
Yeah.
So a lot of people sort of hear sort of horror stories and stuff of where like families fall out. Money can sometimes be the root to all evil really when it comes to these sort of things.
Absolutely.
So a lot of families can have sort of fallouts if wills aren't written, and then obviously the rules of intestacy come in, which is like a government based sort of set of rules really of who inherits by law. They can sometimes be a lot different to what actually people's intentions are. So people sort of come out, main reasons to get things sort of black and white.
Yeah.
Sort of it's confirmed, it's sort of very straightforward and easy to read. Secondly, when they've got sort of children, family, making sure they pick and choose who gets what, how their estate's managed, if there's gifts.
Yes.
So really, I think to if anything, to sort of personalise really what they've got, what they've worked hard for, and it goes to who they want. And probably the third one really is for any parents that have sort of children under the age of 18, there's a lot around sort of guardianship sort of side of things. So to actually assign whom they actually want to be legal guardians of their children, and that's probably the biggest thing for any clients we sort of deal with who have sort of children under the age of 18. It's something that is overlooked.
Yeah.
They sort of naturally think that sort of grandparents or mum and dad will just sort of sweep in and just look after the sort of kids if anything happened to both of us sort of thing, or if it's one parent sort of anything happened to them. But actually legally it's not in concrete, so without a will it can actually be quite a drawn out process. It can have quite a negative impact
definitely
on the kids at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking after your assets and your nearest and dearest, really.
100%. I think the biggest thing is putting it into a structure that is clear to read when anything happens, and they can actually read a document that sort of gives good insight into actually what they want to actually happen.
Yes.
Will do, and that's the big thing. Yeah,
absolutely. So what would be the top 3 reasons, would you say, that people don't have a will?
I think with doing a will, I think it's always been, sort of portrayed really that it's quite a costly exercise to do.
Yeah, expense, definitely.
So one thing we've always sort of, sort of put ourselves in probably the top sort of bracket really where we sort of work with people is actually we make it a cost effective sort of an affordable way to do things. So getting a will in place doesn't have to be a costly procedure. It's more around getting the important documents in place that you can sort of box it off and then it's sorted. So I think sort of cost is always a main perception. I think second one, it can always be quite stressful because you sort of it's perceived as you're sort of talking about finances, sensitive information. So from where we sort of work, we've got an office based at sort of Pier Business Park, which we've got a sort of private sort of meeting room there for clients to come to us, or we can come to the comfort of their own home, and so forth. So we make it very much a process that fits how people want to. So I think stressful sort of, as a process, I think people perceive it as being. And thirdly, I think it's more the misconceptions really with people that they don't need to have a will. So if they don't own a house or they don't have an asset, they think, I don't need a life. There's a will in place. But actually, like something that's straightforward, having life insurance in place, that's actually an asset if you die.
Yeah.
So
your insurance policies to have
you
protected.
need to have if you've got sort of collectibles, or if you've got a wish that you want someone to inherit something when you passed away, then a will needs to sort of
correctly documented.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're the sort of 3 things I think sort of in terms of sort of cost. the process being sort of stressful and quite invasive sometimes, and then that sort of third one where sort of people perceive they don't actually need one because they don't feel they have anything to give.
Yeah, no, I think that they
And
would
I always
be.
sort of say, to be fair, if you've got £5 or sort of £5 million, that's your choice of who it goes to, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, is there an age group, would you say, that haven't perhaps got a will in place? Do you think it's a generational thing?
I would probably say, yeah, the sort of very much the older generation. I think it was always sort of bred into them to get that in place.
Yeah.
There's always, I think within that bracket, definitely they haven't reviewed things for a long time. So it's always been, I think, portrayed to them that once it's in place, it's done, it doesn't have to be looked at. We encourage people every sort of 2 to 3 years to review what they've got.
Yes.
Because things do change. So
yeah, there is a lot of people that have got wills in place and they go, oh, I did my will 20 years ago, but you think how much life changes.
So house moves, children, grandchildren, retirement, sort of if there's a death of a spouse or a family member, if you've inherited. There's all those sort of things that might not necessarily mean your will has to change, but actually having that sense checking, that review is always important. But I think the sort of big thing with a lot of people sort of now is just making sure, I think, within that sort of bracket, I think the younger generation still, I mean, I always sort of say anybody from the age of 18 really should have something in place. Because things can happen without control.
I mean, I deal with home sellers and tenants, and I can guarantee that most of my home owners will have a will, because at that point of transaction they'd have been told to have a will. But I can guarantee you that I'd get 50% of my tenants have only got a will, but they should still have a will, even if you're a tenant.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that sort of bracket, I think from sort of, I don't know, probably 35, 40 up to sort of 55, 60, that's probably quite a good bracket of where we're sort of seeing people where they don't have wills in place. And again, it's the sort of conversation I have with a lot of people, really. It's probably the same conversation with everyone. It's all to do with the list of life just gets longer. So they've always been told from the parents to get a will in place. So like when they got married, when they bought a house, when they had kids. But life just goes on. And
when they got divorced, any life events, I think, should be key triggers.
It goes down the pecking order. And it's not really until either something happens. So sort of through COVID, that was a big thing for a lot of people where I need to get things sorted
in place.
And it is, somebody might die as a friend or a family member, just that thinks, oh Christ, okay, I need to get things sorted. And that's where sort of people then probably think they need to get it done.
So how long does it take to put a will in place, and at what point is it then ready? Because I think we've talked about the stress, the anxiety around it. People may be overthinking it, but the overthinking then creates the imposter syndrome of actually never getting it done.
So I think from a processing perspective, we always sort of work from that initial consultation where we'll sort of do an estate sort of overview and really get a grip on really where the estate is. So in terms of assets, liabilities, sort of anything of value that's in the estate, sort of any sort of liabilities and so we get that sort of that overall value of where things are, what people want to sort of consider for wishes and stuff, who they want to use as executors in the will, any gifts.
So that's the question then. Who and what classes as an executor? So I think that's a bit alien. It's jargon,
an executor is very much probably one of those terms that can sort of obviously be used pretty much as the executor sometimes. But it's sort of it is one of those ones where whoever you sort of give that sort of authority to within your will, it's a very trusted position to do. So it's people sort of, for example, if it's a husband and wife doing it, it could be husband and wife as sort of first executor. I always sort of try and sort of say to people to have at least two. If you sort of passed away, or if both sort of husband and wife have passed away, because then they can act sort of together. Because it is a big job.
It takes pressure off a little bit, doesn't it?
Pressure. It can be quite intense. If there's sort of taxation and stuff that needs to be taken into account, and taxes paid, again with HMRC can put a bit of pressure on.
And it just doesn't feel like it just lands with one person, because that one person still has their own life to do, as well as taking these additional responsibilities.
And I think sort of with a lot of people, it's just making sure whoever is that person. So again, it's sort of got the time to do it. Sort of from a working background, are they the right sort of person to do it? Do you trust them enough to sort of do a good job? Because if they're going to be, executives can sometimes be the sort of same as trustees. So if the kids are sort of under an age to inherit, then trustees can manage that money if mum or dad's passed away,
of course,
etc. So it's sort of, again, there is pressure on that. So again, it can be family members, it can be friends.
Can that putting it completely out there, but can that executor in your will be changed at any time?
100%.
So you, upon marriage, divorce, buying a house.
Yeah, so from our sort of perspective, that's where we sort of build from an aftercare perspective with sort of clients and reviewing things regularly. Things like that do change. So in terms of sort of if there are changes where it could be sort of family that you fell out with, friends that again have moved away or emigrated that you're not going to see them again, sort of thing. So for them to be in Australia and be an executor over here is difficult. So they're very easy to sort of change and so forth. So an executor doesn't have to sign anything in the will.
Okay.
I was just sort of obviously it's important to have that conversation.
Yeah.
That they're actually aware.
Don't
of
have
it.
that sudden shock that, oh, by the way, you're my executor,
Yes.
and that's quite a huge responsibility.
Very much so.
Okay, so the difference then between maybe writing your wishes just on a blank piece of paper and having a will. What are the pros and cons? What are the risks?
So the sort of writing on the sort of a jot of paper, again, it's not legally valid.
Yeah.
So even the sort of the DIY wills that you can get from sort of WH Smiths and so forth and some sort of printing shops.
Yeah.
Again, they're not legally sort of, they'll be valid, but they haven't been checked by a professional. So sometimes the way it's written can actually almost indirectly have a negative impact on certain people in the will. So if you've worded it in a certain way and you've got stepchildren, you could be wording it to go down to your children rather than the wider sense of children.
Yes.
And you might be thinking you're going to give it to all of your children, including stepchildren, but the way you worded it doesn't do that. So I always sort of say really for the cost of what they are now, like 30, 40, 50 quid for a pack from WH Smith or something like that.
You'd better invest
just invest in the time, and also that someone's pretty much backing it up. So with everything we do, we've got professional indemnity insurance in place. So from our sort of side of things, we're confident with what we do and how we draft things. Obviously everything's as it needs to. But if ever it was incorrect, you've got some recourse to go by. Whereas actually through those packs,
there's nowhere, is there? It is just as good as a piece of paper, really.
It's an unfortunate sort of thing, really. It's a mistake you'll only realise when you've gone.
Too late.
And it can't be changed.
And usually it's costly. It's the same with tenancy agreements that you can buy off the shelf. Unless it's checked legally and written correctly, it's not really.
You don't know it's
got any validation.
You don't know it's bespoke for your sort of circumstances until you've actually had a professional either check it or work it through with you, and that's the big thing, really. And
store it and keep it up to your correct point in life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people with, even if they've, there's still probably sort of late 50s, sort of early sort of 60% of sort of people in the country that don't have a valid will in place, which is still quite a high number when you sort of think in terms of how many like sort of financial institutions there are around the country, the levels of advice you're going to go through that really should get these sorts of things in place. It's still quite a high number of people that don't have it in place. But a lot of it's just, for a lot of people, even if they go to the point of doing it, a lot of it can actually be how do you keep those documents safe and secure, and that could be a lot of things where if a document gets lost, if it gets defaced.
We're all good at having those safe places, aren't we?
And sometimes
where we put things, so you do know where they are, just don't know where you handle them.
Those places can sometimes be that safe that you can't find them.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of that. We all live pretty busy lives, don't we? And it's a bit like, well, I know I've got a file somewhere in the back of that cupboard. You know, I ask clients for information and documents, well, we've got it, but somewhere I'm not sure. And I think sometimes just that life admin, spending that time just doing a little bit of wills, your insurances, all of that, and just having a file of, probably a little bit of doom and gloom, but when I'm not here sort of file, it's there and it's ready, because there's nothing worse, leaving it to your executor or family members to be scrabbling around through cupboard drawers trying to find bits and bobs.
I think it's always advisable sort of now as well that if people are, if you've got like, for example, bank accounts and investments and savings with like multiple different sort of providers, it's making sure that really where they are, what are the account numbers, because that can be sometimes the most time consuming part of being an executor. You've got to piece together like, where everything is, and that's the big thing.
And it's always something that none of us ever want to think about, but actually there's two certainties in life, that we arrive and we depart, and sometimes it's just making sure that the depart bit, after we've done this busy bit of living in the middle, is tied up and in order.
I think with a lot of people it's just making sure that it is boxed off, and you sort of I's are dotted and your T's across that basically and I always sort of say with clients really, when you've signed your will, sort of power of attorney or anything you're looking to do, is making sure that once you've signed it, you can sort of sit back knowing it's sort of done.
Tick.
Because we've had clients come to us in the past where they've done wills before, like with another sort of profession, and it's like they've not quite been happy how they were advised in the first instance, or something was put into place that they never either quite understood or wouldn't really understood how the metrics of how it worked. And it just makes them uncomfortable or uneasy, and it's that sort of back of the mind sort of stress that I need to get this checked or I need to get it looked at and sorted. And like sometimes when it is actually explained, it's not what they actually wanted.
No.
So it's that sort of thing really where it's people have to understand what they're signing.
Yes.
And if they don't, really
to get that advice.
Yeah, and there's never a stupid question. So
no, never. And I do think people do prolong having, or not put off doing it because of, well, I don't want to seem silly and I'm not too sure and I don't really know what an executor is and I'm not too sure what my wishes really are. But to have your wishes documented in some way, especially if you've got children or grandchildren,
yes.
it's better to have them documented in some way rather than nothing.
No, exactly.
And to let your close ones know who your executor is if you're going to have
Very
that lovely
so,
job of being an executor.
And I think letting people know what the actual remit sort of it is, and it's the same with like executors and guardians, they're not small jobs.
No.
So and it's picking the right people for the right job.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you live in the Midlands and your brother or sister lives in America, for them to be a guardian of your children is not necessarily viable.
Yeah.
And it's, if you've got to have that conversation, it is.
Yes.
Then great. But it's just making sure you've had that sort of conversation. Because I've had a lot of people in the past where they say just off the cuff, oh yeah, so and so will be an executor, or so and so will be the guardian for the kids. But then we're rewriting the will in a couple of years' time because they've then actually finally had that conversation with them.
And it's not.
And then actually, oh no, I don't do that.
Yeah, and it's daunting, isn't it? It is daunting. But I think, just touching on those points today of, who and what is an executor, why people are putting it off, January being the kickstart to the year, I think it's really time to, not delay these things and making sure you have got your wishes on paper and with the right professional, because I just think it goes an awful long way. It's a stressful time losing anybody in your family, isn't it?
Yes.
And to then have the added stress of not knowing what somebody's wishes are, that's just dreadful. So I think if you can help a friend or family member by just watching this and taking a little bit of information, or just going to see somebody so you get the first step sorted, I think it makes a big impact to your life, family's lives, people that are left behind that are picking up the pieces of things upon death, and just making life a little bit easier, and actually for those people that are left behind to get what they want out of it, hopefully hassle free and stress free and everything else. But I am still astounded the percentage of people that don't have a will.
Yes.
And I think that is down to knowledge.
Yep.
I think if you don't have assets, you don't need a will. Well, you will still have something to give to somebody, or children that still need looking after, and that is an astounding number.
I think a lot of it is education as well, from sort of school really as well. You sort of see a lot of people with sort of financial education of like dealing with like sort of mortgages, sort of credit, debt and so forth.
I can't remember being taught anything.
No. It's like life skills really, from that sort of side of things, and getting these sorts of things in place from a younger age. Because you do speak to a lot of people, I don't need that. And actually, you got a house, you got kids. Yeah. Actually, you do. And it's more the education of actually what does happen if we don't have it in place.
And I think if you work in the professions that we both do, you assume that people do. It's only actually when you scratch the surface and go through documents and details and the finer details that you then go, but you've not got a will in place. And then that's...
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, they just assume that, I mean, your sort of big one really is people that sort of cohabit.
Yes.
So they sort of see themselves in that sort of like common law marriage, where they've been together for 20, 30, 40 years, and just assume, oh well, we've been living together for 30, 40 years. We own the house together.
But actually haven't got that next stage.
No, and actually that's where the rules of intestacy sort of come in, is actually that cohabiting sort of partners don't actually get first sort of rights from that sort of side of things as if you were married. So it's that sort of thing, and people just don't think...
Protecting your partner, ultimately.
So it is, and it's that sort of thing really, whichever sort of planning, it's not about being sometimes malicious or anything like that, it's just making sure that you're covering off where things are, and at the end of the day what you worked hard for goes to who you wanted
to, and what your wishes, and fulfilling your wishes effectively.
Yes.
I think today's been really insightful, and I really hope that you people that have been watching it have. And if you have any questions, of course, for Lee, then you can get directly in touch with him. We will tag him on here in his business, so you've got all of his details. Lee, just tell us where you're based. So
we're based in Pera Business Park in Melton Mowbray. And again, we operate sort of East Midlands to the Midlands, but nationally as well. So be it sort of come to our office, or again, we're sort of happy to come to your home.
Yeah.
Sort of see you remotely, sort of video call, sort of telephone and so forth. So
perfect.
Very easily accessible.
Good, that's what we need. So if you want any questions answered, remember no question is a daft question. These sessions are about making sure that we're giving people as much information as possible to start their journey, and it's not all alien, and you don't have to know everything at all, because you'll get guided through that process really easily, really simply. I can actually speak from personal experience that I used Lee for mine, and it was easy, stress-free, hassle-free, done, and it's all in place. And then I can just go about my normal business until something else happens in life and we have to change it. But that is the purpose of having it, and that is the purpose of working with an expert along that process. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We really hope that you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you all very soon.
Thanks. Thank you.